So today, since Alex asked me to do this, Alex is my SEO guy, and he said, "Hey, I like the post you did. Can you do a conversion lab on it?" So what he does is he then grabs it and turns it into a full article. So I'm gonna primarily doing it for him, but I figured there'd be some value to a lot of other people who are getting a little bit confused with the high ticket and low ticket, and as if there's some difference here. So just to backstory, I came into the online world from a very offline business. Before banking, after banking, I was in consumer goods, where we sold things like toothpastes and all that sort of stuff, where the lifetime value was not measured in like 3 months. It was measured in years. So, for example, if you get someone to jump onto your toothpaste, there's a very good chance that if you get them at 18, that at age 65, they might still be using it. Right. And that normally is how a lot of the branding type world works. In the direct response world, things are measured in weeks or days or in a singular interaction. Because what we're trying to do is get someone to trigger someone to click on the link now and all that sort of stuff, which is why the conversion rates are like, sub 1% in most cases. And literally the funnel is measured in like, oh, I know he's on my supplement auto ship program for 3 months or 6 months or something of that sort. You rarely ever see a direct response campaign where someone buys a supplement, for example, and then continues to buy that supplement, even 6 months or a year or 2 years from now. So it's very much a whole lot of hoopla to get the initial transaction, right? That's direct response, and it has its place because it's a quick and early injection. But at some point, you want some other the other part to sort of take over. But there's not a branding versus direct response debate here. I just want to talk a bit about why sometimes people end up making the wrong choice of the business model when they're looking at this sort of thing here. So looking at the product, pretty simple, kind of like the product you're selling, the group of people you're selling to. Usually, if it's direct response, then there'll obviously be anyone who's really in market. While in the any other world, like branding world, you'll be looking at people who are not quite in market yet, right? So we'll leave that distinction aside. And the third part is the capital part. That's the part that I wanted to draw a lot more attention to today. So first one is product and prospect. I think Joe Sugarman put it best when he said that you need to understand the nature of the product and the nature of the prospect, and you need to marry them together. And that kind of is what all marketing is all about. But one of the things he didn't mention, which I think is just as important, is the capital part. And so I'll share what that means here. So I'm going to use the Austrian School of Economics definition here, which is goods of higher order or goods used to produce consumer goods and derive their value from being future goods, which is just a fancy pants way of saying not just money, but capability, know-how, resources, networks, all the other soft stuff as well, not just land and buildings and equipment and employees and all that sort of stuff. The sort of know-how, resources, and networks and capability that you bring to the game matters. Now, if you were to bring that into it, all of a sudden, just because I find someone who has been able to sell a product to a particular type of prospect doesn't mean that I may be a good fit for it, right? And that's the part why a lot of funnel hacking often fails, is because you may not have the capital resources of that person. So, for example, let's say there's someone inside Leads Hook. They're great at let's say Facebook ads or something, and they can scale to 200, 300 grand a month, but they've been able to build that repertoire of capability over many years. And so you run into their funnel, you go to the ads manager, you're like, oh yeah, I can copy his ad, I can copy his offer, I can copy his whatever. You run the campaign, you don't get the same outcome. It's because you don't know is how long the pixel's been run for, what else is he doing behind the scenes, how is the campaign structure been set up, and so on and so forth. There's so many other variables that you can't see, and that only he or she has because they've spent the time, energy, and money and have paid the price to learn the game at that level. Right. And so that's what I mean by capital as an example, in this case, where you're comparing against the product and the prospect. Right. So the important part here is, what is the point of leverage? In the article that I wrote about this, the thing I covered was what if you were cash strapped? So you didn't have a lot of money to spend, which means every dollar you spent had to bring back return, while there may be another business that is quite cash rich and they can afford to go negative for, let's say, 60 days, and then they are required to make money. So because of the vast cash resources, they can afford to run a funnel that is a little bit wider and it's a little bit longer. And so they don't need to necessarily, get a win today. So that person will continue to run their campaign, and they may have a larger funnel to play with, many more concepts to test with, and so on and so forth. It becomes really difficult to compete with someone like that because they've got, in this case, more capital, in this example, financial capital, but it can apply to any other type of capital as well. And so because they've got a longer runway, they can obviously run a much bigger business because they can afford to give things away for free up front and then convince you to join their webinar or whatever in 7 days from now. So let's say if you're running a high ticket offer where you asking them to join a webinar, and the webinar runs, let's say, once a week, for example, then you got to cash flow this thing for 7 days, right? Or maybe an average of 3.5 days, if you were to assume average ad spend of the same amount on every 7 days. So 3.5 days worth of cash you got to pony up front before you get to the day where you're going to be presenting the webinar and the offer and so on and so forth. Now, so that's still a significant amount of money at scale. So so therefore, because the cash reserves aren't there, you can only scale so much before you have to turn your campaigns off because you just don't have the cash flow to keep going. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go and get financing and all the other stuff, leaving all those things aside. So that's what I meant by and so what how does it relate to high ticket and low ticket? Well, there is no high ticket, low ticket. It's just, do you understand the prospect and do you understand the product? And we have enough resources to sell them something that is aligned to what you can deliver. So let's say if I'm really good at consulting and therefore I can sell a $20,000 coaching package or a $100,000 consulting package, but I've got the capability to do that. So, I maybe have worked for McKinsey, I've worked for some large corporate, and my clientele is a corporate person. Right now, that works because I'm working with in a target market where that is a norm to expect that. But the service I'm providing is of the value that they expect to pay. So, but similarly, now I bring the consulting down to, coaches or someone who's just starting out in business. It'd be ridiculous for me to think that I can sell $100,000 coaching package, no matter how good the coaching package is, to someone, who's not making anything at all at the moment. So in this case, if you can see that my product is still coaching, but the prospect is of the type for whom this is just not a good fit. So you're gonna have to go with a low ticket offer of some sort, and obviously in this case you'd assume that there'd be volume to make it with. So your model would be different. The $100,000 one is more high touch. You'd probably do some meetings. You'd probably jump on calls. Probably turn up at an offsite. You might have face-to-face meetings, presentations, all that sort of stuff. But at the low ticket at scale, you can't work. Obviously, that you have to make sure that it is a process that runs without you. That's the whole funnel thing that we all work with, and that's the difference. So there is no high ticket or low ticket as such. It was the point of my article, and the point I wanted to make here is that you really need to be true to what you can deliver, honestly and with integrity, for the price point that you want to charge to the prospect and the product that you are offering. And that was the point of the whole thing. Now, there are people out there who obviously sell that, this sort of really super high ticket stuff. I've got a good friend of mine. His business is helping Series B startups go to Series C and D. So they obviously give him, a significant chunk of their, or a chunk of the equity, I should say. It is significant in terms of dollar value. To take them to the next level, he's got expertise in taking a company to $2 to $3 billion. So obviously he brings that skill set and capability to the table, and that's what allows him to charge that price. Right now, not everybody can do that. I might look at him and go, oh yeah, I'll funnel hack him. No, I can't funnel hack him because I don't have that that outcome that he's received for the type of customers that they require, which is someone who wants to, reach $1 billion or more in market capitalization. Right. So just an example of making sure that there's some honesty, integrity, but being true to what you can deliver as well. I think I'm just seeing far too many offers coming as a result of copying someone without necessarily realizing that after you sell the damn prospect, you still got to deliver. And unfortunately, if you don't have the skill set or the capability to deliver, then it's not going to work. I see that every so often, not much anymore, because I don't think there's a lot of people selling courses on how to become like a lead gen guru or lead gen expert overnight. It was a bit popular a few years ago, where I would have people join up Leads Hook for wherever they found me, and they'd taken money from a prospect, let's say 15,000, 20,000, to deliver leads. And then they'd ask me, how can I deliver leads? And I'd say, okay, well, you do realize you've signed up for a software. What skills do you bring to the table? Like, what's your capital look like? And they'd say nothing. I used to buy and sell leads. I used to buy retail, sell wholesale. Oh, sorry, buy wholesale, sell retail. And I said, so you've never run a Facebook ad? No. You've never run a Google ad? No. You never build a funnel? No. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't really help you, because there's nothing. And I suggest you refund whoever you took the money from, and exit this with integrity, while you can. Unfortunately, in most cases, they've spent the money on something else. So, long story short, making sure that the capital aligns to the prospect and the product, which allows you to create the business model, and that is the essence of making sense of high ticket and low ticket, and that the offer that you make has to be congruent and consistent with your ability to deliver the outcome as well. All right. Thanks, Tommy. Not feeling 100% today. Picked up something over the weekend. Thank you. All right. So yeah. So Jay, yeah, to your point, absolutely. If you're bootstrapped, then obviously it's going to be a bit more of a hustle, or as in the kind of offer you're going to make is going to be congruent with the bootstrapped outcome. Which is a little bit different to if you had received millions of dollars in funding, or if you're an existing business that's already doing 30, 40, 50 million. Then obviously the kind of campaign should go after a little bit different. So, for example, when I was in the branding game, when I left investment banking, I joined this business. They were doing about 5 to 6 mil, and so the first thing I did, I looked at the financials, and I could see that after all said and done, it wasn't actually making that much money. It was making like less than 50K on a 7 million top line, and most of the money was being consumed or taken by in just expenses. So I was like, well, how do you fix this, right? So the first thing we did, we rationalized the expenses. They had carried lots of inventory. Some of the stuff was there for 20 years that hadn't been moved, and there was a lot of laziness in the organization. So we cleaned all that up. We took 5 million inventory or whatever they had sitting down, and we brought it down to 800,000. So we released $4 million cash just from inventory in the first 90 days. Now that cash, once it came into the business, obviously we sold a lot of things at cost or under cost in some cases, but at least stock in the warehouse turned into dollars, which you can spend now. So the first thing we did was we invested in this IT system. We spent about $1 million, so we can get some numbers about what the hell's going on in the business, what product lines are moving, what customers are making us money, all that sort of stuff. So we invested in analytics first, and an accounting system and all that kind of stuff. And then with the rest of the money that was left over, now we said, okay, cool. If we were to look at the market, how do we exploit the opportunities that are out there? What are the unique things that we can do? But now we had the cash to go do those things. Now, what if I just enter the business and, you know what, you guys aren't making money, but here's a $1 million marketing plan to go launch a new product. I mean, they'd laugh at me. They're like, okay, great, but where's the money? We're not going to go borrow $1 million just to launch a campaign that potentially won't work, or whatever. Even if you thought it was going to work, going and taking on more debt is never a smart idea. So I had to be, so we had to kind of think outside the box a bit and say, well, how do I restructure this? So that's why you do a P&L and a balance sheet analysis first to work out what exactly is going on here and where is the low-hanging fruit. And oftentimes it's getting rid of lazy people or people who've been there for a bit longer than they should be. Sometimes it's investing in new technology. Excuse me. Sometimes it's investing in new training. So I made everybody go through Excel. And this is I'm talking 90s here. So everybody had to go through Excel and Word type training and all that kind of stuff. I needed to upskill them so that when we gave them computers, they knew what to do with it. So we took computer classes. I paid for a private school to teach them. I think for about 4 months, we went through just the computer classes so they would lose their fear of a keyboard. I mean, that's how bad it was. So because they would think if they touch something would break. So we had to make them lose the fear of touching a keyboard. I'm talking 90s here, right? So this is many years ago, before Windows XP. Um, and um, and so I had to do that first, which was a cultural change, right? So you got to realize that whenever you're presented with an opportunity, there's always something you can do with it. And so a lot of this stuff boils down to taking a step back to analyze where the opportunity are before you go. It's not always launch an offer. No, it's not. Yeah, maybe that's the right answer for you, but it may not be the right answer, because you got to look at the financial stability of the business first before you go around making plans of what the hell you're going to do. Because if you're not financially stable, well, launching a new product or a new offer is not going to be the right decision to make, because you're probably going to send you broke, right? So it's just kind of putting some pragmatic things out there, rather than just the usual crap you see on Facebook, which is just launch another offer or write a new Facebook ad or some other bullshit like that, which is really off some. Yeah, it may be the right decision, but not always. It seems a little bit too constrained and a little bit too linear and a little bit too myopic to really make sense that would be the only answer to freaking every business problem there is. Maybe one of the answers oftentimes is you got to fire yourself, right? I mean, as in the guy who's running it is the whole thing's gone well past his use by date too. So that can happen too, right? Anyway, long story short, I hope that sort of covers the whole high ticket, low ticket, how that fits into the business model, and where the sweet spot comes from. Right. Any questions on this before we open it up to a broad Q&A? Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask anything you want.
Hey Nick, it's
Hey,
Eric.
Eric, how's you doing?
Doing well. So we're still struggling, to be honest with you, trying to find that quality of lead along with volume. You know what I mean? We're having, doing some media buy testing on native, Facebook, things of that nature for home services. We're trying to crack the code on debt. Just kind of curious as to, you know, kind of to your point of talking about like budgets, things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
Where it's limited. Like we're trying to, spend a buck, make a buck, or look, we understand it's not gonna get profitable day one, but
Yeah.
just wanted to see if you had any insights into.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things is, when you cash strapped, then you need to prioritize on where you can make the most impact. So, for example, when in the business that I'm talking about, when we first went to turn it around, we didn't have that much capital left. So we had to focus on, of all the opportunities that are out there, what would be most to our advantage, right? And so you got to do something very similar. And I know that it might seem like a rational response to say, listen, I've got 50K, let's divide it by, let's say 10 traffic sources. And so now I've got 10 traffic sources, but if it's two separate offers, then I'm going to divide it by two again. That's, while it may seem like, that's the best way to maximize the opportunity. Oftentimes you've spread yourself too thin, because, as you would appreciate, and since you've been trying to do this for a few weeks now, is that to find expertise at scale for Facebook, and then to have the same thing in Google, and to have the same thing in YouTube, and then to have the same thing in native, and so on and so forth. It actually is a monumental task. I don't know of anybody inside Facebook, inside Leadshook, I should say, who actually, one man or one woman themselves, has got that much expertise. I don't. Even the guy that I know that's running 5 to 10 mil a month in just YouTube ads, they've got someone else doing their Facebook.
Sure.
Because he's like, I just don't have the mental capacity to handle this much capital being deployed, and to then go to another entire network, like called Facebook ads, which is about as stable as a toddler on a one-wheel bicycle, or a single, yeah, exactly.
Totally.
So the point is that you gotta pick where you have an edge.
Yeah.
And so when you look back at your team, or however you guys are organized, where is your natural advantage that you guys have done? Because obviously this is not your first rodeo. Obviously you've done these sort of things in the past. And
Well,
so where have you seen yourself or the team or whatever, whoever, however you've done this in the past, where your biggest wins have been, at least on the media buy side? Because you can't really get to the offers until you fix the media buying. So who's doing your media buying?
well, that's the thing. So we've got and maybe I should restate this. It's
Right,
we're dealing with an issue like we're trying to crack the code internally. However,
right.
I guess
Okay.
the broader statement is we are still running into an issue, even if we have affiliates running, right? Managing quality of
Yep.
that lead, the contact rate,
Yep.
duplicates, things of that nature. So I think that's more, look, I get it. Trying to crack the code on Facebook or
Yeah,
any other.
okay. No, so on the affiliate space, it gets a little bit harder purely because they're motivated by quantum of leads. You're
Yep.
motivated by contact rate, and so there's a natural mismatch between what you want and between what the lead wants, or what
Totally.
the affiliate wants, I should say. So one way around it would be, and not that I've ever seen this, but I don't know if that's something you guys can chisel out with your affiliates, is that if you get a contact rate above this, that you'll bump the payout or whatever, something along those lines, because then obviously you make more and it makes your campaign a lot more stable. But it's actually true because, Charlie Munger, right? Show me the incentive and I'll show you I'll show you the behavior, right? Or something along those lines. I think it was paraphrasing here. So the incentivization is, and I've seen that time and time again. So this actually happened to someone who consulted with me a couple of weeks ago. The client was pissed off. They said, "Hey, you know what? Your leads are shit. We're out of here." But he's telling me that based on the Facebook campaign that he ran or whatever, his lead cost halved, right? So he's increased his margin. So I'm getting leads for $5 instead of $10, and I'm selling them for $40. So therefore, I'm much better off. The issue is that those leads that were going to the client, they were much crappier in terms of the quality of the lead. They were a lot more socioeconomic in the ladder, so they couldn't buy the higher value product, and so on and so forth. So the money wasn't backing out for the client, but the lead gen, I should say, in this case, was obviously making much healthier margin. So he reached out to me, said, "Hey Nick, can I get some time with you so we can kind of break this down?" And I told him, I said, yeah, what you got to realize, and this is not something that's new to anybody who's been on this call a few times. Lead conversion is not the same as sales conversion. They are two different things.
Yep.
Just because they convert really well for me doesn't mean they're going to convert really well downstream. So one of the things I said to him, I said, what you got to do is go back to the client and say, can you give me the lead ID or some reference point that allows you to match who these people were, how the way the lead came from, so on and so forth, so that you can backtrack. So not only so this is the conversions that happen on the client, but the sales conversion, not necessarily the fact that you delivered a good lead and the client was going to pay you, but sort of when they work through the telephone system and whatever else happens on the client side, that they also get back to you after 30 days or whatever it is with the lead IDs or the sub IDs or something for you to identify what this looked like, and then you can match the data up. You can dump it in Excel, and you're going to go, okay, you know what? We're getting a profile here of the kind of people that are turning out to be high quality versus the type of people that are turning out to be shit quality. And that could be feedback to your affiliates to say, hey, listen, can we run more of this and less of this? And if you do this, I'll, instead of paying you whatever X dollars, I'll pay you Y dollars, or I'll give you X bonus, or whatever. Some way to incentivize that so you can get a better flow of those people through. And that's probably what's going to need to happen here. If the lead quality is, and it's a very, very common problem. In fact, Facebook can trick you really, really easily as the case was here. So what happened was he went to some Facebook forum, the guy I'm talking about, and he got some feedback. He saw some some recommendations on how to fix Facebook ads. So he decided to take the recommendations and implement it. And he shut everything off. He said, "Yep, no, this looks like the guru said X, Y, Z. So I'm gonna go. That's it. Let's go." And it did make a big difference to his lead cost. Unfortunately, it didn't back out for the client. So now the client's not interested in doing business. So he had a 7-year relationship that was pretty much gonna be thrown away because he gave, I think it was like a month or two of shitty leads. And the client was like, listen, this is not really working for us. So long story short, break the problem down as like a puzzle and see. But I think the number one thing you got to work out is what is the difference between what do these clients look like that are good versus what do the clients look like that are bad, and then look at the offers or the presentations that are being done in terms of the hook that's been presented to the marketplace and the messaging that's presented to the marketplace and what is attracting. So this is one of the things we're looking at a course that I'm teaching right now called Persuasion SOS, where one of the ideas there is that the type of idea you present to the market attracts certain type of people, right? And that's basically it. So you want to make sure that you come up with variations of ideas and yeah, that relates to the market segment you're going after and things of that sort. So I would suggest that you go wider in terms of the broadness of the ideas you've created and test those out and see and then track all of them in the traffic network or ad network where you have the greatest advantage in terms of I know what the hell I'm doing here, and just focus on that first and get that working rather than spread yourself thin. Like I said, it's super hard to find a media buyer who feels even comfortable these days, even one network, let alone somehow tell you that they have expertise in all. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't find an agency that does all of the networks, but inside the agency, you know, they'll have, you know, the TikTok guy and they'll have the Facebook guy and they'll have the YouTube guy and whatever. So if that's the case, then great. If you're looking for some recommendations, I can send you, you know, maybe connect you with one or two people. You can do your own due diligence before you engage with them. You know, they don't come with any particular how can I put it, any stamp of approval from you, anything of that sort. It's just there are a few people that I've known who've worked with them in the past and found them to be reasonably good. That's my only kind of interaction and understanding of that. And then you can, you know, if that's something that you're looking to do. But yeah, so just reach
Fair
out to
enough.
me if
Yep,
that's
that'd be
something
great.
you're interested in. I can just do a quick intro, and then you guys can take it from there. I don't get any cut out of this. Okay, this is between you and them. And if the deal gets struck between the two of you, then that's great. And if it doesn't, if there's no deal, then there's no deal. All right, this is
Totally
like
fine.
yeah.
I guess the last thing to that point, are any of your people that are scaling in some of these verticals when affiliates are running, are they getting more granular?
None of them are doing affiliates.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, they all run. It's extremely difficult, but not that I know of. That's not to say that you can't find a CPA offer that's going to do those kind of numbers. But everyone that I know that's doing any of those volumes, they usually are running their own ad spend. Now, that's either done in a JV deal of some sort. So let's say, for example, you're a large finance company, and so you're backing me as your media buyer or your funnel creator, and so you pony up the cash, I pony up the capability, and we divvy up the money in whatever ratio. Usually that's what happens with those really big numbers,
Sure.
because you know it's going to be hard to find a media buyer with 5 mil of bankroll, you know, no matter how good they are. So yes, usually going to have some sort of financing coming from the larger partner,
Yep.
and yeah, because they see value in what you're offering. So yeah, so living like kind of like the dollar value of the ad spend around, that's normally what you're going to find. I've rarely seen anybody with affiliates doing anywhere near that volume on a consistent basis. So the guys that I'm talking here, like some of them, they've been running this kind of volumes for like years, like 3, 4, 5 years.
Wow.
So yeah, since they've joined Leto. So it's extremely difficult to find that consistency with anybody who is not who is using affiliates. Because with affiliates, you're always going to have a lot of kind of like, you know, that sort of jigsaw thing happening.
Sure. Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
no problem, man. Hey, anytime. Thanks for asking. Right. Anybody else?
Thanks, Nick. Be great to get your scaling guy on for a guest appearance one day. He sounds like an interesting bloke.
Yeah, yeah. Sure thing. Right. Any other questions?
Unique question about what do you call that? the paid class that you're currently doing? Is that over, or it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, no,
going?
we're on our final week, but it's not available for sale anymore. We've done a little bit too much work to be done. I might release it at some point. I'm not 100% sure at the moment, but no, that's kind of done.
How
Yeah.
long was that for?
How long was the course?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we're in week 5 right now. I think this is the final week, but let's see how much we cover. Yeah, I'm moving frantically to make sure that we cover most of it, so people can move on and start using what we've learned. Yeah, we're in the final week now. We're using AI to make ads. So that's what I'm working on this week. Yeah, it was a 5-week thing. We started from psychology and all that stuff, and we're moving down to making ads and stuff now.
Yeah.
And actually. Yeah, the 3 other people on the call are in the course.
Got it. Yeah, I missed it. I mean, I was on vacation. I didn't see it
Yeah,
until
no,
after.
all good, man. Hope you had a good vacation. Yeah, it was summer. Yeah, so probably my bad on the timing. You know what? It's my winter, so I'm like, it's cold, so I better run a course.
Got it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Anybody else? JC, Tommy? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, guys, we'll call it a day. Have a lovely week. Oh, Eric.
Just
No
going to say
problem.
thank you, Nick.
Hey, no problem, man. Anytime. We look forward to chatting soon. Same time, same place next week. Otherwise, JC, Tommy, Jay, I'll see you on Friday or Thursday your time. All right. Take care, guys.